The first day of boot camp was supposed to be intimidating for everyone. Fresh recruits shuffled nervously in line, boots scraping the asphalt, while drill sergeants barked orders sharp enough to cut through bone. But for Jack Turner, a single dad and a veteran of a war most of the younger soldiers only knew from history class, the morning felt strangely quiet. He wasn't new to discipline, to sweat, or to pain. What unsettled him was how young the faces around him looked, wide-eyed boys and girls, barely out of high school, some smirking, some scared. Jack stood a little apart. His hair was flecked with gray, his posture straight but weary. He carried himself with the calm of someone who had already seen the worst life could throw at him. Yet, as he adjusted his pack, a group of 17 recruits broke into hushed laughter. "Look at Grandpa over there," one whispered loud enough for Jack to hear. "Did he get lost on his way to the retirement home?" Another added. The laughter spread. Some even mimicked an old man's shuffle, holding imaginary canes. Jack didn't flinch. He simply looked down at the dirt beneath his boots, remembering his daughter back home, Lily, 10 years old. Her last hug lingering like a shield around him. He hadn't come here for pride or glory. He had come to provide a better future for her. Still, the sting of their ridicule cut deep. He had survived firefights, hunger, and sleepless nights overseas, but being mocked by those he'd one day be asked to protect left a bruise only a father's heart could understand. The line snapped to attention when Commander Elena Hayes strode in. She was known for her sharp gaze, her reputation unshakable. A decorated officer, she'd earned every ounce of respect through grit and sacrifice. The recruits stiffened under her presence. Her eyes scanned the rows, pausing briefly on Jack. Something flickered there, but she said nothing. The drills began. Push-ups, sprints, obstacle courses as the day dragged on under a brutal sun. Jack pushed through each test quietly, never competing, never boasting. Sweat streamed down his back. His muscles burned, but his discipline carried him. Meanwhile, the younger recruits jeered whenever he lagged a step behind. "Careful, old man, don't break a hip." Jack ignored them, but during the rope climb, when his arms trembled and his grip slipped, their laughter turned cruel. That's when something unexpected happened. Instead of falling, Jack adjusted his position, pulled with a burst of strength, and scaled the rope faster than half the platoon. He touched the beam, dropped down, and landed with the grace of experience. The laughter died. Some of the recruits exchanged uneasy glances, but the real moment came later. During a break, when shirts clung damp with sweat, Jack peeled his uniform top halfway down to cool off. That's when Commander Hayes noticed the tattoo on his arm. It wasn't flashy, just a faded emblem, an eagle clutching arrows, encircled by words only a few understood. Her eyes widened. She stepped closer. "That tattoo," she said quietly. "Where did you get it?" Jack looked up, hesitant. "Special Operations, ma'am." "Afghanistan." 2007. A silence fell. The 17 recruits who had laughed now watched with growing unease. Commander Hayes straightened, her voice carrying authority. "Recruits, let me make something clear. The man you've been mocking served in battles you've only read about. He wore that tattoo into missions where survival was measured in seconds. Some of the freedoms you take for granted you owe to men like him." Her words sliced through the air. The recruits shifted uncomfortably, shame flooding their faces. Jack said nothing. He didn't need to. But Hayes wasn't finished. "Respect isn't given in this camp because of age, looks, or bravado. It's earned through sacrifice. And if you're smart, you'll learn from him instead of laughing at him." The recruits fell silent. Over the next weeks, everything changed. The same 17 who once ridiculed Jack now began watching him closely. They noticed how he never complained, how he offered a hand to those who stumbled, how he tied perfect knots and treated even the smallest task with discipline. When one recruit sprained an ankle, Jack carried his pack for him without being asked. When another froze during a live drill, Jack whispered steady instructions that pulled him through. Slowly, respect replaced ridicule. One night in the barracks, a young soldier named Miller finally spoke up. "Jack, a broken bar. Why'd you come back? You already did your time. You already paid your dues." Jack paused, his gaze drifting to a photo tucked inside his bunk, Lily's smiling face. "My little girl," he said softly. She deserves a dad she can be proud of. She deserves more than hand-me-downs and broken promises. If serving again helps secure her future, then every bruise, every laugh, every mile is worth it. The barracks fell silent. Some recruits blinked back tears. By graduation, Jack wasn't just another soldier. He was their anchor, the one they trusted when fear crept in, the one they followed when doubt clouded their minds. On the final day, during the ceremony, Commander Hayes called him forward. "This man," she said to the crowd, "taught us all a lesson. Strength isn't about youth, leadership isn't about rank. It's about heart. And Jack Turner has more heart than any soldier I've met." Jack stood tall, his daughter in the audience beaming with pride. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to smile. The 17 who once laughed now clapped the loudest, some even standing in salute. And in that moment, Jack realized something powerful: a kindness, humility, and quiet strength could transform even the hardest hearts. The sun beat down mercilessly as the platoon prepared for their endurance march. 40 pounds of gear strapped to their backs, rifles in hand, boots laced tight, the recruits groaned under the weight, adjusting straps, already dreading the miles ahead. Jack, steady as ever, stood silently at the end of the line. His breath was calm, his stance balanced. Private Miller, still carrying the shame of his earlier mocking, whispered to his buddy, "Man, I don't know how Turner does it. He barely sweats." His friend shrugged. "Guy's been through worse." "You heard the commander special ops. That's no joke." The march began. Dust rose with each step, clinging to sweat-damp uniforms. Within the first mile, recruits started gasping. By mile 3, 2 had already fallen behind, grimacing in pain. Jack noticed. He slowed his pace, falling back until he was beside them. "Shift your weight forward," he said gently, demonstrating how to lean so the pack rode easier. "Breathe in rhythm with your steps. In a broken bar 2, 3, out a broken bar 2, 3. The recruits tried it, and to their surprise, it worked. They kept going. Behind them, one of the others whispered, "He doesn't just march, he teaches." By mile 6, blisters formed. By mile 10, spirits broke. One recruit threw down his pack in frustration. "I can't do this. It's impossible." The drill sergeant barked, "Pick it up, private, or you're out." The recruit's shoulders sagged, his lips trembled. He looked ready to quit. Jack stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said respectfully to the sergeant, "permission to assist?" The sergeant raised an eyebrow, then nodded. Without hesitation, Jack hoisted the struggling recruit's pack onto his own shoulders. The weight doubled, but his pace never faltered. "Walk with me," Jack said. The recruit, stunned, followed, step by step, mile by mile. By the time they crossed the finish line, the young soldier's pride was restored, and not because he had made it alone, but because someone had believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. The other recruits looked at Jack with a new kind of respect, and not fear, not pity, but admiration. He hadn't just come back to serve. He had come back to remind others what true service looked like.